So our topic, we're looking at benchmarking, recruitment, achievement and retention.
We're going to start off with benchmarking. No longer is the word benchmarking used. They're now starting to use the word national average, and they look at it as a percentage. And how that works is that the government sets those percentages. And those national percentages that have been set, colleges have to, each different department has to meet that percentage and shouldn't be below that percentage. If it goes below that percentage, then it makes an impact on the funding that's available for the colleges. So it's paramount that we achieve the national average, or at least get close to those averages.
So as Hamid was saying, the government sets the national averages, and it is regulated by Ofsted. We're looking at a new course. The national averages are accounted for the first year because there's no previous percentages to look at. So this is then governed over a 3-year basis. The managers, looking at how this is reported, the tutors would be reporting to their CAMs, and then the CAM would then report to the head of department, and this is how it's regulated through a college quality process.
Yes. Just to mention what Michael pointed out, on new courses they usually start them off on the first year. And in the first year they usually iron out any of the problems that they may occur. So if the course didn't achieve those percentages, then they will look at that course, wouldn't necessarily cancel that course. They'll put things into place for it to have those improvements. Second year, if the blip was still there, then they would look at it again and then try to put those new aspects to make those improvements. If by the third year that course doesn't perform, then the management would then most likely take the decision of cancelling that particular course. If a course has been running for a number of years and it's been hitting above those national averages, and suddenly there's a blip, and it might be a blip over maybe 1 or 2 years, then the management of the department and with all the tutors, they will look at that course and try to find out what caused that blip, and then try to put those rectify those aspects that had gone wrong, so that that course can go back on track and not have those percentages drop.
There's going to be like action plans in place if that were to happen.
Yeah, that's what they do. Yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah. And usually the ultimate person that makes that decision isn't necessarily just the management or the head of the department. What happens is that process is all the people teaching on that particular course or within that department, everybody has a responsibility to make sure that those percentages don't drop. The students within that course are kept on that course, and everything's highlighted. If there is a problem, then it should be picked up at an early stage so it can be rectified. Yep. Okay.
So recruitment is done through an open day process and an enrolment process. The main enrolment on our courses is after GCSE results.
It is. It's usually after the GCSE, because A-levels come first and then they wait for the GCSEs. Having got the GCSEs, I think then there's a huge push on recruitment. But throughout the year, we have a number of open days where the parents have the opportunity to bring down their child with predicted grades, so that if they wanted to go into engineering, like mechanical engineering in Michael's case, or electrical installation in my case, then they would come down to see what would be the opportunities for that candidate to be able to jump onto a particular course with the types of achievement grades that have been predicted for that candidate. And so we can then give them the information at an early stage. If those students don't quite hit the mark that we're expecting, then we will also introduce to other courses that we may be running, or a supplementary course that they may have to go and do, so that they can then come to our departments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also run taster days as well,
Yeah.
which is in the recruitment process. So there's nothing worse than a student coming in wanting to do mechanical engineering and then finds out once he's been enrolled on the course that it's not, or
Of course,
it's not for them.
Yeah.
So a taster day is an excellent way of making sure we recruit the right candidates for the course,
Yes.
and then this doesn't then affect our benchmarking figures as
Yeah.
retention and
I think
achievement figures.
that can lead to a problem. So if we can snap out that problem right at the early stage, like Michael says, recruitment, making sure that when the candidates do come, they are taken and they are given the right information so that they can go on to the right course, and that course is then suited to that candidate, so that there's less likely chance of that candidate changing his mind along that process. There are going to be cases where people do get onto a course and then ultimately want to change, but if they get onto the right course with the right advice, then they're more likely to sustain and stay on that course, so that the achievements for the college and the percentages then can also be maintained. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that moves us on to retention. Looking at mainly colleges in general, we're looking at to keep the candidates, good teaching.
Yeah.
So that's where now within Bradford College now there is a big push with new lesson plans that are going to be put into place, how we can change just by using certain techniques like PowerPoints, giving handouts. We've got some senior members of staff that are now putting training days for us to improve our teaching, so that we can then empower the knowledge to the student, and then give the student the opportunity to use different techniques, if you want to say, to engage with one another. So different ideas, so that the teaching can be improved.
Yeah, and so that we retain the students. That is the ultimate goal. We want to progress the students all the way through, and not let them go to another college or another training provider.
And then they're giving us I think they're giving us much more freedom in putting resources together, which allows more self-learning with us facilitating, rather than us standing in front of a classroom and just talking at them all the time. The other part of that, with retention, is that they're looking at and possibly bringing in is, especially with Michael's, who's also linked in with Leeds University with his department, and it's an employer.
Yeah, it's looking at like the employer relation. We need to keep, with me looking after apprentices, the employers need to be happy as well as the students. So we need to be delivering units in our courses that are specific to what the students are doing in industry. And that is one way of retaining the students and getting as many students from that employer as possible.
Yeah, I mean, we are the same in electrical. Good employer relationships can then bring back those students, and also allow us to run some shorter courses that we have. And with the employers, they are looking at now with ours, the new qualification we have in electrical is the 5357 electrical installation, but it's had a huge impact by the employer. So the employers have realised that the students that are coming out of the colleges may not necessarily have all the skill sets, so now they're working with the colleges to say that this is what we want in the unit, this is how we want it delivered, and this is what ultimately the student should know when he comes out. We also look at employers and students, and we like to make a case study on where they've gone. So I think it's one of the things that would benefit the college, is to celebrate that the student success by having case studies of students and seeing where their destination after the qualification that they've achieved from Bradford College, where it's taken them. So we have a number of success stories.
Yeah.
I think we should really celebrate that
Yeah.
a lot more. Next.
So we calculate the retention rate by the number of students who have completed the course by how many started. So as an example, we've got 10 students completed, but there were 20 students who actually started the course. So really we've only retained 50% of our students.
So basically, the more completers we have, closer to the starters.
Yeah.
So it goes back to linking back to our recruitment, making sure that things like recruitment, retention will all link together. So if the course is right for the student, it's much more likely that the student's going to remain on that course and not leave. And this ultimately then brings a better percentage mark for retention. So in terms of negative impact for retention could be many factors that we've had. So we've had some factors where maybe the staff have been ill, and students that have signed up to a course, it could also link to not just staffing, could also be linked to if the college isn't funding those departments with the resources that they need. So if you've got resources which were old, things that have just worn away or not working as they should do, and if students are coming onto the course paying these fees, their expectation is that the college is going to provide certain resources which they can use, and that's more likely if you pump in the money into the individual departments and making sure that the student has the facilities for him to use, then not only will you get success at the end, but you'll get a satisfied student who ultimately is the customer.
Yeah.
I think that's how it's a happy student will hopefully the impact will be success at the end.
Yeah. And then percentages as well are all linking back to the national standards as well.
Yeah.
So the government will set a national standards rating for retention, and then our course is then governed against.
Yes, how much you can. And we also have to make sure that some of the students that have decided to leave, the percentage can have a huge impact if we don't release the student off the system.
Yeah.
So if the student is still within the database and tutors haven't withdrawn them properly through the proper process, then they will remain on as students, which then will make a huge impact on the percentages at the end. Because it'll look like those students are there when they've not necessarily been there, and they will not achieve. So on the achievement, and then moving on to achievement.
So the calculation for achievement is the number of students who passed the course divided by the number of starters at the beginning of the academic year. So an example of that would be 5 students pass out of 20 that were enrolled on the course. So we'd have a 25% recording for achievement. That is then linked over back to the benchmarking or the national average to see where our course relates back to what the government say the achievement rate should be for that course.
Yeah, and if those national percentages are not met, then like we mentioned earlier, those impacts can be made hugely in terms of the amount of funding that the college will be getting as a whole. So each department, the line managers, the managers, the tutors, we're all linked together to make sure that that is a success story and not that course that runs into a bad percentage. And then nationally they are set so that you can compare yourself to other colleges. Why is it some colleges have a higher percentage and we have a lower percentage? And then it's just a matter of looking at all these other aspects like recruitment, retention, in achievement, and it all comes in together.
All links. Achievement is heavily based on what students we recruit, are they right for the course, the retention of the students, so looking primarily at the relationship that they have with staff, the level of
Yeah.
teaching and learning that's taking place, what resources are available to them.
Yeah.